Hello everyone, and a very, very warm welcome to our Design School workshop today. Thank you so much for joining us. For those who don't know, Design School is the home of workshops and webinars for you, our Canva community. To find out about upcoming events, just head to designschool.canva.com/events, where you'll find a range of interactive content designed to empower our community to design. So today, we're very excited to share with you our Going Viral with Video workshop. We'll be exploring the Canva Pro interface today. However, most of the features we're talking about are available for free use, but we'll call out any pro features if we use them during the session. And in today's workshop, we have not one, not two, but three video experts with us to share their wisdom and insights. So let's kick off and meet them. First up, over to you, Eddy.
Hey guys, I'm Eddy and I'm a videographer here at Canva.
Hey everyone, I'm Jordi. I'm a motion designer here at Canva.
And I'm Ronny. I'm currently looking after our YouTube channel, making sure all the great content out there reaches you guys.
So those of us who are new to Canva, what is Canva? It's a graphic design platform that makes it easy to design anything for free. And recently we have launched Canva's video suite. You could create video before in Canva, but now there are a whole heap of new features, and we're really excited to be taking you on a tour of some of those today. So let's have a look at what's coming up. First up, we'll explore why video is one of the most important formats to be working with in our online world. Eddy will then share some top tips for capturing epic content and footage to work with. We'll then explore strategies for creating content that your audience will want to share. And finally, we'll explore how to jump on social trends using the video tools in Canva and show you how to create on-trend content confidently, even if you're a total beginner. All right, so let's get going with part one. It's over to Ronny for some fascinating social stats.
All right, so let me start with this photo right here. It is a photo taken not by me. I was not born in the 1970s, probably in New York subway. We can see that people here are all pretty much focused on their newspaper. But if we take a look at this other photo, more recent, this one is a photo that I took myself in Bangkok in the SkyTrain. And we can see that people are focused on something quite different. They're all focused on their smartphone. So what I observe here is that attention has shifted. Mobile is where the attention of people is at the moment. Just get on a bus, a subway, a waiting room, or even sadly, sometimes a restaurant, and you will see that people are glued to their mobile phone. So this shows us that we are living through this fundamental shift in the way people consume the information. Now, if we look at the other side of this information production flow, we see that the production side also is affected by this shift. We now know that people consume information differently. And so what does that mean for the companies, but also the creators who create, who produce that information? Well, for years, companies have been marketing their product in the same way. It was mostly done by crafting a message carefully and then pushing this message to the masses, okay? So spending money on visibility, buying media space through print media, television, radio, billboards. What you were doing, you were buying awareness. Awareness was key. You needed to get your brand in front of as many people as possible. That's how things were done by companies. But today, things are very different, because the audiences and their attention are not in the same focused places anymore, not on the same newspaper that everybody was reading in the subway in the 70s. Now the attention is scattered all across social media and the digital media landscape. And also, messages are no longer polished and controlled by the brands. So what you say about a brand is not just produced by that brand anymore, but instead it is produced by the audiences, by the masses, and published online through online reviews, videos, or simply conversation they might have on social media. People talk about your brand. So let's quickly look at some statistics here to confirm that shift in the way we consume and produce the information. First, 67%. That is the percentage of the world's population that uses a mobile phone. which is roughly 5.3 billion people. And my sources here are Hootsuite's blog. Now, next slide, 57% still of the world's population uses social media. And that is roughly 4.5 billion people. What's interesting here is that this trend has been accelerating. The number of people connecting to social media and using social media on a regular basis has jumped by 13% since this time roughly last year. So the pandemic has really accelerated this trend of people getting on social media. Here again, I'm basing myself on stats from Hootsuite. So on the next slide, let's discover where do people actually spend their time on these social media platforms. Well, here's a breakdown of the most used social media platforms out there, with the top 5 being, without much surprise, Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Messenger. What's a bit scary here is that 4 out of 5 actually belong to the same company, Meta. What is Meta? Well, that's Facebook's new name since today, basically. So they recently rebranded this massive company, which was Facebook, into Meta and to focus on the metaverse. They're slightly reorganizing this landscape, but still it's very focused. But this is pretty much where the attention of people is focused at the moment. What is noticeable is that all of these top platforms tend to be, they have the dominant position, and something happened like a year and a half ago. It's the appearance of TikTok. So TikTok came into this media landscape and kind of disturbed the way people were consuming content. And therefore, these massive platforms like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube have to adapt to this newcomer and the success of this newcomer that was TikTok, and have recently introduced similar features or product features to their platform to kind of mimic the success of short form video content that was so popular on TikTok. So because of the success of TikTok, platforms like IG and YouTube introduced short form video content. On Instagram, they're called Instagram Reels, and on YouTube, they're called Shorts. So if we come back quickly to our photo of the people in the Sky Train here for a second, these people might have to step out of the train the next minute, but they're still deeply focused on their phone. That is because content that they consume is grabbing their attention super fast. It is consumed within seconds. So viewers are now expecting to be entertained or sometimes also educated within very short amount of time. They will scroll through your video content at a rapid pace on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook stories, and the likes. So while this might seem like a whole new marketing challenge for businesses, especially small businesses, I want you to not be scared about this, but to instead represent the huge opportunity that is for content creators. And to illustrate that, we have like the 2 next slides here, which the first one is, you have a video production studio in your pocket. What am I talking about? Well, Nike said, if you have a body, you are an athlete. Well, we could say today that if you have a smartphone, you are a content creator. Anybody can pull out their phone and snap a video or TikTok and start streaming on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube in a matter of seconds. And because this attention has shifted, it's no longer on TV or newspaper, the technology has also evolved. And now we have the opportunity to connect with millions, literally, of people to communicate our message. We can rival with the big brands in terms of size of your audience. An influencer can have more followers than an established media company. And you can reach these people for free. This used to cost millions of dollars to companies. It is today free. This is a wonderful opportunity that I would like me and the rest of the team here to encourage you to consider and to kind of like hit the nail on the head and really show you the potential that is right there, that exists. I have this fictional character here. Let's call her Camila. Camila is a content creator. She creates educational content, let's say about Canva. She teaches people how to use Canva, okay? So she has a YouTube channel, but she's also active on Facebook, Instagram. She does a little bit of TikTok, and she understands the value of building an audience, building a community, and how valuable content can contribute to building that following on social media. So Camilla's core content is by nature educational, right? She teaches people how to become a better designer with Canva. She has created a couple of online courses on platforms like Udemy or Skillshare. So she's also making an income from these sales of these courses that she has. And she also designs templates in Canva. She's a Canva creator. So she earns royalty via the Canva creator program, but also pushes these templates that she creates on other marketplaces like Etsy. So here on the slide, you can read 8 different ways Camilla is actually making money with her business by creating educational videos. Now, Camilla might be a fictional character, but in the reality, I do know a bunch of people who are actually making money and making a good living, teaching about things they are passionate about online. So this is a real example, and it makes possible for anybody to kind of create that video content and reach millions of people. So I hope that this example showed you the importance of creating video content and how to get people's attention where it actually is, where they're spending this attention, where they're focusing their attention. So the importance of that and the wonderful income opportunity that this represents. I hope I made my point with these few slides. Now I'm passing it over to Eddy, who is going to help you understand why video is so impactful in terms of connecting with the audience. Over to you, Eddy.
Thanks, Ronny. So now we know the importance of social media and creating content for each platform. Let's talk about that. Creating video content is more than just making your design move. It's an opportunity to connect more deeply with your audience, to evoke emotions, reactions, to explain and entertain. Let's take a look at social media. Video is king, no matter which platform you're on. The head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, recently went as far as announcing that Instagram will be focusing on video content over photo sharing, the very feature which originally made the app a household name. Now, there are a number of reasons to look at video creation. Number one, of course, the algorithm. All of the major social networks favor video in their algorithms. So if you're looking to see an uptick in your engagement, shifting towards video is an obvious choice. It captures viewer attention better and for longer, and it's more likely to stop someone from scrolling. Did you know that tweets with a video see 10 times more engagement than simple text? Also, video is incredibly easy to consume. Unlike writing a long-winded paragraph about yourself or your business, video allows us to condense information down into easily digestible snippets of content. You're guaranteed to hold your audience's attention longer through this passive viewing as opposed to active reading, so you have a better chance of getting more of your message across. Video also makes it much easier to drive conversions. So whether you're looking to gain more followers, persuade buyers into making a purchase, or simply pushing traffic to your website, video makes it that much easier by allowing you to include a wider range of info. For example, you can include your product features and benefits, plus a call to action to drive activity. Video also has a much longer shelf life than static images. A TikTok video, for example, can be surfaced in users' For You pages for weeks, even months after it's first published. This is because video content typically generates more interactions and shares, which means it stays in the ecosystem for longer. And finally, video allows you to tell a story. Could be the chronicles of your personal adventures, could be how your business went from bootstraps to billions, anything. Everybody loves stories, and video is a pretty perfect way to tell them. So let's recap. I see a little bit of love for the GIFs in the comments. Can anyone list some of the reasons to shift towards video for your social media? Shelf life, yeah. Gets more eyeballs, yes. Storytelling, yeah. See, everyone loves a story. All of the things, yeah, perfect. And I also want to let you guys in on a little something. You've obviously already noticed that I included the GIF versions of some of the memes that you probably all know and love, simply because research shows me that these will hold your attention better than the static versions. Was anyone here mesmerized by the loop? Hopefully this has helped me prove my point. So you've heard a lot about why you should be using video. Let's go to Jordi for the next steps.
Thanks, Eddy. So far, we've discussed video origins, platforms, and the possibilities. But you're probably asking yourself, now what? What's the first step to creating not just viral, but exceptional content that fits your needs? Now, I think it's good to take a moment to analyze, take a moment to think about who you are, not just as a person, but also a brand. And we're going to take a second to define that. So the videos you put out on social media represent you, and all of those pieces together build your brand. This can be shown through colors, images, sounds, fonts, presenters, anything you use consistently to create your content. It could even be like your cat turning up every single video every time you produce one. And then your brand becomes your calling card so that you're recognizable in a sea of other creators. Before we do a full brand analysis, I'm going to introduce someone very special and incredibly fictional. So this is Dot. She is a small business owner and a video content creator. Her business is called C Dot, and she creates ceramics from repurposed ocean waste. Now this is a look of her at her content. So she uses platforms like Instagram and TikTok to advertise her business, also using this as a chance to raise awareness about living sustainably and branch into teaching tutorials. For her content, she films herself crafting ceramics. This includes the whole, all part of the process, from ocean waste collection to sculpting to beautifully crafted dinnerware ready for sale. You get them, Dot. You'll also notice all the videos have a sense of consistency as well. It's really important that you keep all of your pieces consistent across all platforms so that they're easily recognizable. And as you gain a following, people will be able to pick you out quicker. They'll say, oh, those colors, that font, that catchphrase, like I know that person, I know that creator. Now let's take time to just quickly analyze ourselves and our brand. I have a little analysis breakdown exercise that we can do together. For this, I will use Dot as an example to fill in the blanks. My creator name is C Dot, same as my registered business. I would describe the content as inspiring, fun, and thought-provoking. I create content about ceramics, and which I create from ocean waste, how to live sustainably, and running my business. So that would be like a quick brand analysis for Dot. Now, you've looked at yourself, you've looked at your brand, and it's now time to do some research, which probably sounds pretty boring, but it literally means you just get to spend hours watching videos, so it's not too bad. So you should probably start asking yourself the following. What do I love to watch? What content do you enjoy? Like if I was to use Dot as an example, she loves watching dog TikToks, sustainability hacks on Instagram, and she often uses YouTube for tutorials for ceramics. So you've defined who you are. Now, what about your audience? So you should probably consider with your audience how old they are, what gender they are, and where they are in the world. And then also, what do they love to watch and where are they watching it? Like, what are the platforms that they're consuming this media on? The next one you should probably consider is those around you. So what do other creators in your genre produce? Take the time to snoop what's suggested to you in your genre, or check out what people in your genre produce. If you ever wanted to go on a social media binge, like the time is now. Now for the big picture, like what's trending? Have a think about like outwardly, like globally, or even just locally, what's trending on all of these levels, depending on where you're looking, and how long are these trends lasting? Like, are they quick? Do they have a short shelf life? Is the turnover a bit longer because these trends are gaining more traction? And then finally, to wrap it all up, so if you start with just you, and then those around you, and then everything else, which would be, you know, what's trending globally or locally, it gives you a really clear view of the space you're trying to navigate, and you can essentially like plot points for yourself, just like you would on a map once you have all of this research down. So final point, and this is a really, really important one that I think sometimes gets lost. Authenticity is everything. Don't forget this one. People will know if you're not using your own tone of voice, and your brand and your tone of voice, like that's what makes up your videos. That's everything that you have. So really take time to craft pieces and be aware of trends, but don't just jump on a trend if it doesn't fit your brand. I think the best rule of thumb is to have, if you pretend, whether you're creating content for someone else or another brand or whatever, imagine that brand is a physical person. And if they were walking around during the day, would they be the sort of person to like bop around, do a TikTok dance, or like, you know, maybe do a specific cooking trend or talk about a certain topic? If you feel like that person that you've imagined as that brand wouldn't do specific trends, it's best to just kind of avoid them and find ones that do fit. I feel like digital communities can really tell, and they dislike an inauthentic sell. So just like as if you were a person and you just started saying things that didn't quite fit with your personality, a channel or a brand is exactly the same.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jordi. Okay, so that's why video is such an important medium for reaching your audience and how to approach turning your static content into video content. And that job is going to be a whole lot easier if you have great footage to start with. So here's Eddy with 5 top tips for capturing epic content.
Jess. So my first tip is planning. It might seem really obvious, but go into your shoots with a really strong game plan. For example, if you know you have a similar angle for multiple shots, shoot them together at the same time. Or if your content has a surprising ending, write some clues and some hints earlier in the script. In the industry, we call that foreshadowing. If you're promoting a brand, perhaps you could have some colored props prepared in your brand colors. At Canva, sometimes we even spray paint office supplies in our iconic Canva turquoise and use them as Easter eggs in our content. Have a look for that next time you're watching. So tip number 2, the most epic script or concept will fall flat if the audience can't see it. In the industry, we often use a system called the 3-point lighting system, which is really great for interviews. There's also something really cool you can try with your lighting called the Rembrandt triangle or the Rembrandt patch, which was named for the Dutch painter who occasionally used this type of lighting in his paintings. You can work your lights to get this beautiful little patch of light on the cheek. You can see it on Keanu's cheek there. And of course, if you don't have lights at your disposal, that's totally fine. You can use lamps, overhead lighting, or even simply the sun. The most important thing is just that you're thinking about your lighting and how it's going to look at the end. Tip number 3, duration. Of course, we all go to different digital platforms with different expectations for content. You might go to YouTube for a longer form tutorial, but that same tutorial simply wouldn't work on Twitter. Your 5-minute Instagram reel won't cut it on TikTok. You can definitely use the same concepts on different platforms. Just plan out in advance what a full-length version versus a cut down might look like, and then shoot accordingly. They might require you to shoot slightly different things. For sponsored posts and ads, 15 seconds is the sweet spot basically across the board. It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but you actually can do an awful lot with 15 seconds. If you have a video for Instagram that's 65 seconds long, you might consider cutting 6 seconds off of it, because if it's under a minute, it will loop on the feed, which might mean your audience will watch it multiple times, aka better recall and engagement. Tip number 4, shoot once, leverage lots. Make your content malleable enough to leverage over multiple platforms by shooting it in different aspect ratios. If you shoot on a fairly new camera, you can switch on frame guides to help you see your different frames. Or if you shoot on a phone, it could simply be a matter of rotating your phone and filming the shot again. When you're editing for different platforms, you can figure out where the overlap is. So for example, your TikTok edit could work on Instagram Reels, or your YouTube export could work on Facebook. And finally, understanding audio online is so important. Did you know that 85% of videos watched on Facebook are sound off? Meanwhile, over on TikTok, 88% of content is watched with sound on.
Thanks, Eddy. Those are great tips. So now we know why video is so important, how to approach making videos to suit our brand, and how to get started with shooting high quality footage. It's time to explore how to ensure your content is likely to get shared. And it's not just by crossing your fingers. You can give yourself a head start by planning ahead. There are 3 ways you can approach and support engagement with your content: by planning reactive content, proactive content, and then supporting that with strategies to drive engagement. So Eddy, tell us more.
Great. So when we say reactive content, we really just mean content that reacts to what's happening in the world. So trends, news events, a Netflix series about a tiger breeder. Here are some ways you can improve your reactive content. So being reactive is all about jumping on trends early. And the only real way to do that is simply by spending a lot of time online. Typically, if I hear a sound 3 times within one session on any given platform, I can tell it will soon be trending if it isn't already. If you see a hashtag cropping up a lot, find out more about it. TikTok in particular is a playground for fast reactive content. In saying that, it's important to stay true to your brand. If something is trending, but the values of that trend go against the values of your brand, the amount of trust and credibility your brand will lose will outweigh any potential virality. So instead, focus on trends where your brand can plug in smoothly. For example, a few months ago, the desktop challenge was popular on TikTok, where people would show their messy, unkempt laptop desktops and then design gorgeous backgrounds with designated spaces for files. It was a natural fit for Canva, so of course we created a video of our own. That video went viral and our follower count jumped up around 30,000 within a week. The next tip is when big social media platforms release a new type of content stream, they will always push users to that stream and favor that type of content. So for example, Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. If you can be an early adopter of those content streams, those social media platforms will push the views right to your doorstep. And finally, on platforms where you know the content will loop plays, such as TikTok and Instagram Reels, one great way you can get repeat views is by creating a seamless loop where your video starts and ends on the same frame. For example, a lot of foodies will show the finished meal first, then show the cooking process. And then as they're showing the finished meal again at the end, it will seamlessly blend with the frames from the start. This will give your audience better recall and drive your views and engagement up. Over to you, Jordi.
Thanks, Eddy. So we just heard you discuss how to be reactive, creating content to fit within trends, but you should also plan ahead. Like planning ahead is very important, and that's where being proactive comes in. So this helps you grow your channel's engagement and build a brand consistently over time. Using the two together is the secret to a successful channel. A few examples of proactive planning here at Canva is we have different content types for different days of the week, like Wallpaper Wednesdays, Mind Food Mondays. This keeps our content consistent. Make sure to check out our social channels. Also, this is a shameless plug. Make sure to check out our social channels so that you can see all of this in action. Our Instagram is probably the best one to view this on, but also literally any of our platforms. So YouTube as well is really good, even our TikTok. Alrighty, so you've done your research, you know who you are, you understand your brand. It's now time to choose the right platform for you, or platforms. I'm just going to quickly break down each platform and give them a little bit of a spiel. So TikToks, it's mostly 25s and under here, although the age does tend to jump all over the place depending on the pooling of the content. Just a quick hot tip. If your content looks too produced, people will switch off. Like a handheld phone on selfie mode will give you the more lo-fi organic feel that lives here natively, as opposed to, you know, if you set up your phone or you set up your camera, you have a really perfect lighting and everything's super finely manicured, that would probably be better for somewhere like Facebook or possibly even like YouTube. So making sure your content fits the platform is really important. So always do your research. Again, go on that binge, just go wild. Instagram, so 20 to 35s. Again, not too produced like TikTok, but you can be a little more polished here. User creators tend to live here like bloggers, creatives, and small business owners. Facebook, so generally 25 to 40. So more produced, more polished, and as we start to see bigger brands, we'll advertise and live here as well. YouTube, you have 18 to 30s plus. So YouTube is quite similar to Facebook, as it will have a higher level of production and bigger brands live here as well. Lots of creator personalities as well as tutorials and all different forms of media. Twitch, we've got 16 to 24 plus, that's going up as well. Unlike the other platforms, this is directly streamed, mostly gaming focused, but it is opening up to other forms of content like live animators, animating live on the stream, Q&As, and even tutorials. So just a quick hot tip. So your phone on a tripod will be a higher level of polish and production value than a handheld phone on selfie mode, but both will perform better on different platforms. You just have to make sure you pick the right one. Awesome. So content pillars and planning. And I'm going to give an example using Dot here again, just so that it's kind of easier to break down. So Dot wants to slowly build up engagement on her platform so that her business can also grow over time. Firstly, she analyzes her target audience and researches common tags on videos. So what we were discussing earlier. She then writes a list of content ideas she thinks will be exciting and puts them in buckets depending on which platform they will work best for. So she's starting to organize them out depending on which platform. She then plans the next month of content she will produce and release. Dot shoots all of her content over the next 2 weeks. Finally, she then schedules all these finished videos for the next month to upload on different dates, spreading them out. This is called a content calendar. This is like when you plan when your videos will release on a certain date. And it's always really good to have a content calendar handy, especially in your proactive approach. So with that month now happening, she continues to create pieces for her business and also has time to jump on trends when she sees one arise. This planning means the doc can not only run a business and earn extra engagement from her channels, but she also has time to read comments from her community and directly interact with them, gathering ideas for next month's content and enjoying the time she spends getting to know her followers as well as possibly her new customers. I mentioned scheduling your posts in Canva before, and this is how you do it. So when you go into the interface, once you create a piece, press the share button in the top right and you'll see the schedule to social media button. If you've created a video, you might need to press the more button. So see the more button underneath with the 3 dots, because that share button up the top will change depending on the type of piece you're making. So whether it's a video or a post or anything like that. So that kind of like moves the menu around a little bit. But if you can't find it straight away in the share, you'll be able to find it in the more. And that should be pretty much everything. But yeah, it's very important to make sure that you're scheduling your posts and planning them out. That way you can kind of free up your time to make reactive content and to do other things, and also to plan for new content. Now over to Ronny to hear how to drive up engagement with your content.
Thank you, Jordi. Let's talk about YouTube for a second, for us old folks here who spend some time on YouTube. So I'm going to share with you some tips about how to create better YouTube content and also how to distribute that content so that it gets the attention that it deserves. All right, so my first set of tips is to spend way more time creating your titles and your thumbnail. So if you are a YouTuber, you probably spend a lot of time shooting your videos, but you need to spend at least as much time thinking about your title and thumbnails. Why? Because this is your only set of weapons, basically, to get people to click on that video once they are competing with the ocean of other videos on YouTube. So a few points here that will help you create better thumbnails. I leave the title part of the equation a bit out for now to focus on the visual aspect, which you can actually do in Canva. Start with an intriguing idea. You want to create attention. You want to give people a good reason to click. Like if you can create a little bit of mystery on your thumbnail, that's even better. So try to do that. Second point, do not repeat the same words that are on your title in your thumbnail. That is redundant. It's just like losing valuable screen real estate on your thumbnail, knowing that you should probably not go like more than 4 keywords on your thumbnail. So try to keep these 4 keywords for something really impactful that is not already in your title. Also, a good way to approach a thumbnail is to be able to resume, to summarize the thumbnail in 1 sentence. If you can explain in 1 simple sentence what is the story of your video based on your thumbnail design, you are up to something good. Choose your main visual right. Okay, like take some time, select the best visual. Canva has an extensive media library for you to choose from. You can upload your own photos. Here I use a photo of a creator showing a phone, and it seems like she has created something on brand. So it tells a story that goes together with my title and the keyword on my thumbnail. Also use graphics sparingly to enhance your main visual. Do not have like 50 different arrows pointing and colors and doodles and things flying around. Just keep it simple, but use these graphics sparingly to create a focal point, for example, on your thumbnail where you want people to pay more attention. Here, I use the arrow to accentuate the in one click, because that's kind of like my value proposition for this thumbnail. And last but not least, for thumbnails, try to A/B test your thumbnails. If you have the tools like TubeBuddy or vidIQ on YouTube, I use these tools. They are very useful for you to kind of like test your different thumbnails. Sometimes it's not always what you think that would be successful that is actually successful on YouTube. Okay, moving on to a second tip. Use the community tab on YouTube to bring traffic to your videos. So this is something I do all the time at Canva. The tools are TubeBuddy and vidIQ. So these are 2 tools. You can Google that. So coming back to using the community tab to bring traffic to your videos. So the community tab on YouTube allows you to post pretty much like a Facebook feed. It allows you to post visual text and links to your YouTube videos. So I use this to create animated GIFs in Canva, like the one you see here on screen. That kind of tells a little bit of a story of what's in the video. And then I have my 2 or 3 lines there with a link to this video that I have uploaded. So this is an additional touch point for your audience to come across your new videos. Next, we have the structure of the video. Okay, so for example, me, I create a lot of tutorials on Canva's channel, but also my channel. And so a tutorial will pretty much respect the same structure, like good structured tutorials. If it's not a tutorial, but educational content, or even if it's a vlog, or even if it's an entertainment kind of video, there are some elements in this structure that will work for any video. For example, your hook. Okay, your hook is 5 to 15 seconds, and you really want to grab people's attention. These first seconds are crucial for your audience to decide whether or not they want to keep watching this video. Okay, so they might click on it. The 3, 4, 5, 10 first seconds are really important. You really need to deliver on these first seconds and let people know they've come to the right place. Okay, this is what we are going to receive as value if I keep watching this video. Next, you will have probably like a little animation, an opener of some sort, a couple of seconds, like 2 seconds. I like to keep it really short. Then you have your intro, which is like, you know, the beginning where you will maybe summarize what your channel is all about. You might have a call to action for people to subscribe at this stage. It's always good to remind people to subscribe and like and comment, because when they hear that, it triggers their brain and they might just do it at this very moment. Think about this next time a YouTuber asks you to subscribe and you actually catches yourself searching for the subscribe button and subscribing to the channel. So your intro, then you have the body of your video, which is like where you bring the main value, I would say, the pièce de résistance to your tutorial or to your video. And then at the end, you will wrap it up. You will recap the main takeaways of the video, and you will finish with your end screen. So end screens, I will come to this in the next slide. End screens are a feature from YouTube that allow you to actually tell the viewer what to watch next. Okay, so this feature can span over 20 seconds maximum. So you can basically adjust the duration of your end screens, but these allow you to show some pop-ups of either another video, one of yours or any video on YouTube really, or a playlist. So these are good for pointing people to the different other videos you want them to watch. You create this YouTube watch time rabbit hole that the algorithm loves so much. They want to keep you on the platform so they can pretty much sell more ads to the viewers. So if you are successful at doing this, YouTube will reward you with some visibility, basically. So use that. Canva has a bunch of different templates for you to easily create these YouTube end screens. And then finally, I recently found out, and I was very surprised about this one, that yes, it's good to optimize your video title, your descriptions, add some tags and all of this stuff. That will help with the search engine. But what I discovered was more deep than that. I discovered that YouTube actually can read what's inside your video. So if you use on-screen animation, if you use like this one, like annotation on your video, or if you use slides within your video, and even though it's exported as a video, Google can read what's on your slide. So that's amazing. I found that about this by searching for one of our like main keywords on Google. I typed in how to design together with your team in Canva. And a video that I had recently uploaded, a CCC tutorial, popped up. And I saw like different moments created in this video. So those are the video timestamps, or the chapters like YouTube calls them. And I didn't create them. And I'm managing these videos on the channel. So they were automatically generated based on some annotation that the YouTube robots kind of detected in the video. So this is pretty amazing for anyone really doing YouTube and trying to optimize their content. Try to think about what you put on your slides as an indication for YouTube to basically slice your video in different parts and let the viewers know. If you are looking for information about how to collaborate with your team on Canva, go to minute 4 and 0.8 seconds of this video and you will have this information. This is pretty amazing. So the last tip, which is the most important one, shameless plug for you guys to scan this QR code right now, grab your phones, scan this code to subscribe to Canva's YouTube channel. That will help everyone here learn how to create this better content that will help me reach my season goals as well. Like, jokes apart, there is a ton of useful content on this channel. All the webinar recordings are there. I just invite you to check it out because it's actually very good. So that's it for me. I will pass it over to you, Jess.
Thank you very much. And a few people coming in the chat already say, yeah, I watch the channel almost every day. I'm subscribed. So fantastic. Definitely jump on the YouTube channel. All of our webinars are recorded and added there as well. So you can catch all of the things that we've done in the past. So now you have all of the tips on planning epic and shareable video content. It's time to explore how Canva's video tools can help you create that content quickly and easily. So we're going to show you how to create using Canva's new video suite and the video timeline. So it's going to be Eddy taking us through a demo now. So I'm going to let her take it from here.
Awesome. So my demo today, I'm going to be making a video, and I'm going to make a video for TikTok. Tabby, I know you mentioned earlier wanting to learn a little more about TikTok and Snapchat. So this one's for you. I'm not going to jump on a specific trend because I don't want this to date the video too badly, but we do all know that food trends are quite big on TikTok. We know that we had pasta chips and we had the baked feta pasta. During lockdown, everybody baked bread. So we're going to go with a food trend for this. So I'm going to start in Canva. I've got the desktop app. If it looks a little different to how you use it in a browser, that's why. And because it's Halloween this weekend, I'm going to do a Halloween themed TikTok video. So in the template library, you can see I've already searched it. We're going to go Halloween TikTok. I am in the pro version, but a lot of these templates are free. So I just wanted to call that out. So as you can see, there's a bunch of really cool templates already. I love the template library. It's such a good place to start, especially if you're looking for a little inspiration. And I'm just going to use this very first one. I love it. I think it's really fun. So jumping right in, you can see if you've used Canva for a little while, you're probably seeing that this looks a little bit different. We've got this down here. This is our video timeline. So we call these timelines, sequences, whatever your preference. So you can see that each page is a shot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop in some footage that I filmed yesterday, but if you don't have footage of your own, you can still play along at home. You can use our video library. Obviously, you guys will know we have a really great video library, or you can also upload video directly from your webcam, which is a pretty new feature that Ronny actually told me about recently. So I'll jump back over to here. If you go into your uploads tab, you can see, so this isn't in the app, this is in the desktop version. That's why I've switched over. In upload media, record yourself is a fun new button. So you can actually record yourself there, which is a really cool new feature. So if you're playing along at home, you can play along with footage of your own. So the food trend that I'm going to jump on, any Australians in the chat might be familiar with this. Chocolate spiders, they were a staple of childhood parties growing up. So I made some chocolate spiders yesterday. Forgive my cooking, I'm a videographer, I'm not a chef, so these don't look great, but you know, I gave it a go. So I've already uploaded the videos prior to this. You can see they're in my uploads tab. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by building the edit. So the very first step, I got some chocolate. I'm going to drop that chocolate video into there. And then I'm going to edit it. I'm going to trim it down to size. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. You can use the slider down here to drag it, or you can use this little trim button up here, which is actually my preference. You can play it to the point that you want and then drag it just in and then drag the other end in. And line it up like that. I'm going to drop my next shot in. So the next shot is I've got the chocolate. And this is a really fun, for those of you who are on TikTok, you'd know this click transition is very, very popular, which is why I've used it. So I'm going to line these up. And then you can use, so this little guy down here, the stick, is what we call the playhead. So you can use this. It's It's not perfect, but you can tinker with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop all of these shots into my timeline. I'm going to trim them down to size. That step takes a little bit of time. So I actually did that in advance. I'm going to jump over to this one where I've already put all of my shots in and I've edited them to time. You can see I've got all my shots lined up. Yeah. That's my dog Juniper. She loves peanut butter. So you can see I've got all of my shots and it's really easy to visually see how they all sit together, which is really nice. I'll run through a couple of other tips. So here, for example, when I was dishing up the chocolate spiders, I used my stovetop because the lighting was actually really nice coming through the window. The lighting was a lot better there than it was on my countertop. This shot in particular, I actually used my toaster. So I put my phone in the toaster where the bread normally goes because it elevated the height of my camera a little bit and tilted it down. So it gave me a slightly nicer angle than just putting it on the countertop. So that's a fun little tip for you there. I've got a shot a little later on where I put my chocolate spiders in the fridge. And I actually put my phone upside down in the fridge because that gave me a slightly nicer angle than the right way up. So that's just another little fun tip. It's just good to be thinking about framing while you're doing it. And also you can see with my edit, I've been pretty ruthless. So a lot of these shots are a second or some of them even less. Especially with a platform like TikTok, you've got to be really, really ruthless with your edit. Basically, any shot that's longer than it needs to be, trim it down. Just give people the bare minimum. So you can see I've been quite ruthless. These shots are really quick. So now what I want to do is I probably want to add a voiceover that's very common on TikTok. So what I actually did is I recorded a voice memo on my phone and I airdropped it to my computer. And so I've actually got one ready over here where I've uploaded my voiceover. And I'm also going to add some music. So if you go into our audio bank, I'm going to type in Halloween's actually obviously one of the trending audios. Or you can export it without music if you want to use music that's more platform native, if you want to go into TikTok and use TikTok's library. Very, very Halloween-y. So I actually really like this one. It's fun. It's got like a little bit of a hip hop beat, which is obviously very trendy on TikTok. So I'm going to drop it in. You can obviously move it back and forth. I'm going to just drop it at the start there. And then because I know I'm including a voiceover, I'm actually going to drop the level of that right down. So you probably don't want it all the way up at 100. It was quite loud, obviously. So I'm going to drop it all the way down to 15 and see how that sounds. So that's better. That's nice and quiet there. And now I probably want to add some graphics. So I'm actually going to invite Jordi to come and collaborate with me. And maybe we want to add some text depth. So you can tag her here. Hey, Jordi, what do you think? Do we need some graphics? And I can see Jordi's already popped into this design.
Thank you. So I might pop in a little spider, go into the elements tab, look for spiders. Maybe in the little settings, I'll look for an animated one as well. Oh, this one's so cute. I love this. Maybe pop this around there.
Oh, that's really cute. Actually, yeah, maybe we can I'll go back to my first page.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add something there too.
I'm going to call them spooky because they're spooky. I don't know. Is anyone else terrified of spiders? I am like slightly terrified. I thought I was really tough, but turns out I'm not. I had a huge spider in my house a couple of weeks ago and I screamed in the middle of my partner's meeting.
Well, more importantly, does anyone else here remember chocolate spiders from growing up? Are there any other Aussies in the chat that grew up eating these? Because staple of our birthday parties. When you add text or graphics, do they have to cover the entire video segment? That's a really great question, Stuart. So when you do add a graphic, so here, for example, I might write 200 grams of chocolate. And that's only going to stay up for the duration of that one shot. So if I want it to stay up a little longer, what I can do is I can copy it, and actually I'm going to remove the animation just to make it a bit cleaner. So I'm going to copy that and then paste it on the next slide as well, just in the exact same spot, so that when you play it through, it will stay up for both of those shots. That's a really great call out. And then I might do the same here. I might write 2 tablespoons of peanut butter, exact same thing. And then, yeah, if I want that to stay up for both spoons of the peanut butter, I'll do it like that. Can you make the graphic for less than the full duration of each clip? I don't think you can at this stage, but how you could get around that, for example, if you just wanted it to be up for half of this peanut butter shot, what you can do is duplicate it. So you can put that in twice, and then you can halve the duration of that shot. And the other way, they are already quite short, which is why I can't go much further. And then you could take it off the back half so that it would disappear halfway through that shot. You would just have to split it up, but that's a little bit of a workaround. Yeah, definitely a workaround. How can you increase or decrease the pace or speed of footage? That's a really great question. We don't have that functionality at the moment, but it is obviously a really popular one. So I don't know this for sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if you keep your eyes peeled. It might be something that we have in the roadmap, but I don't know that. That's not an announcement. It would just be a really cool feature. One other really fun thing that I'm going to do here, because I mentioned this earlier, working the loop, is I'm going to just copy this entire page and I'm going to paste it again at the end. I sort of already did it, but not very well. So I'm going to paste it again at the end so that the first frame and the last frame are the same. But what I want to do is take this little snippet of me eating the finished product, and it's about here now. I want to shift it up so that the very end of the video is here and then the very start of the video is here. So if I've done a good job, it will just loop and then it will go into the next playback. But if I've done a good job of it, which you can really spend some time getting into the nitty-gritty, it will just form this perfect loop, especially on TikTok, where the viewer can just watch it again and again and again, and they might not even know where the video started or finished. They'll have a rough idea of it. So that's a really good way to get repeat views. And at the very end, here's a cute little Easter egg. I made these last night and I dropped some off to Jordi. What did you think, Jordi? Did you like them?
Just a small shout out. I had actually never had chocolate spiders before, so this was a very exciting time for me.
Cool. So that's my demo. You'll get to see the finished product in a second, but yeah, I hope that gives you a little bit of an overview of how to use the video product. It's really great. You can add transitions in between the shots. You can see here, add transition. You can have these really fun slides and line wipes and circle wipes and all kinds of things. The video offering is really, really great. So for those of you in this chat who haven't discovered it or used it yet, please jump in there and have a play. As a video creator, I loved this. I had so much fun using this for all of these like really fun little animations and really fun ways of chopping the footage up. So I highly encourage everyone. How did you get to transitions? Oh, that's a great question. So down here between the shots, you can see this little plus button. I've got add page or add transition. So just clicked on that and the transitions came up here. Page animations are also, if I didn't call out earlier, you want to select the entire page, which I've done here, and then go here into page animations. So you can see here all of the different ways. And again, these just look beautiful. These are just immediately going to add a heap of production value to your videos. So if you want to get more eyes on your video, these are just some really easy ways that you can do it. You can see that there are a bunch of pro ones, but there are also a bunch of free ones. My favorite's actually Block, which is a free feature. If you guys have a favorite, one of these transitions, shout it out in the chat because I actually love them all. How to choose the order of animation. Oh, I see. How to choose which element of the page comes up. Sorry, yeah, I understand your question now. So basically, it's the order of what is sitting in the animation back to front. So you can see that the spider is sitting on top of the video and on top of these cool little dripping blood thing. If you wanted to shift it backwards, you click on it, go to position and push it backwards, and then that will affect the order that everything comes up on the page as well. I think I'll hand it back to you, Jess.
Awesome. That was a good tip. I didn't know that about you can actually control the animations by where they lie, which layer they're in on the document. That's super useful. We have a little treat for everybody because you get to see Eddy's design in full. Here it is, the finished product.
Chocolate spiders. Happy Halloween, everyone. First, break up around 200 grams of chocolate. Add 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. I had to give my dog Juniper a little treat too. Melt this together in the microwave in 30-second intervals. Next, add around 100 grams of unseasoned fried noodles. Give it a good mix. Spoon it out onto a baking paper lined tray. I also added these cute little edible eyeballs to make them extra spidery. They're not that scary, but they're just so cute. And then pop them in the fridge until they're set. Finally, share them with a friend. Hey Jordi. I think she likes them. And that's how you make.
All right, so that was how to use the new video timeline, but Canva can also help you make super short form videos and add motion to your static designs. So here's Ronny to take us through an example, which is creating an animated GIF for YouTube.
Yep, and that will be answering Beatrice's question. So here is how I make these animated GIFs. I start with the 1:1 aspect ratio, and I usually upload the thumbnail as the first element here. Then to create a more interesting background, I use doodles or textures, and I put that at the back of my design. Then I make sure everything is aligned, is bigger, in a big enough size. I like to use these shadows on my thumbnails to kind of make them hover over the page. So I use the shadow effect on the image. Then I use my text boxes and create my text. I like to kind of use a limited amount of colors on these posts. So I usually like 2-3 colors at tops to really stay on brand. I like to play around with the curved text functionality. So to make a little bit of a curvy effect for my text. So just give a simple and clear call to action, a little bit about what they might, like what people might find as a value in the video. I use 2 fonts, like the main font, which is in all caps, and then I use like a handwritten type of font for my secondary text. And I like to make these little attention-grabbing elements by using stickers. So this is another way, without using the timeline like Eddy just showed, to create these video moment on Canva, is to use stickers. So it actually moves. So you'll see that I use stickers and animation. Here, I'm just creating a call to action button, which is not going to be clickable. It's just that to let people know the video is now live on the channel. The link to the video will be in the description of this community post, not in the visual per se. So again, I'm adding some little doodle stickers there. One of my favorite search on Canva is doodle stickers, because there's all sorts of little fun stuff and moving stuff there. So doodle stickers is a good one to remember. So once this is done, make sure everything is properly aligned, properly centered, and then I will take care of the animation of the text. So I click on the text box, I use the animate button, and I set my desired animation. And then it's all done. You just have to export this as a GIF. And this is the final result that you can see. This is ready to upload on my community post on YouTube together with the link. So that's how I create them. It's very easy. It usually takes me 5 to 10 minutes. I replicate my templates. So I try to stay consistent with these. So once you have one, you can just swap your images, swap your text, and you're all good to go.
Spectacular. Thanks, Ronny. So in summary, don't be afraid to use the template library to help you start your projects feeling inspired. Make use of the collaboration features so you can work with the team. And don't forget, you can do this on mobile as well. So you can have a design open on your laptop. And just as we saw Jess and Eddy, Jordi and Eddy collaborating, one of you could actually do that straight from a phone and be on the bus or on the move and still be able to contribute to that design. And remember, just as we've seen, video can be a lot of things, not only your traditional videos with the timeline, but also a design that moves like a GIF, as Ronny just showed us. So we have some quick tips to wrap up. So it's over to you, Eddy.
Cool. So these are just a couple of things that you can do to drive engagement on your content. When I create for social media, I like to put really subtle details or jokes in my videos. Even if 2/3 of the audience missed them, the 1/3 who noticed will be chuffed that they did, and they're more likely to comment and point that detail out to others. I also like to use lists and captions to encourage interactivity. For example, I might make a video about 10 silly laughs and have a caption that asks the audience, which one are you? Those viewers will tag their friends and family saying you're number 8 and so on. And finally, it's really important to understand optimal post times in your region. For example, are your viewers more active on a weeknight than a Saturday night? Are they online on a Monday morning, or are they online on Wednesday lunchtime? Understanding and utilizing those optimal post times can be the difference between your post flopping or flourishing.
Here are some hot tips. So be proactive. Make sure that you make space for reactive content by being proactive. So by planning, you can do reactive content as well. Makes it a lot easier. And also use the content planner feature in Canva. Keep it consistent so your brand will grow into new spaces as people start to recognize the content that you're producing. Listen to your community, take care of them. Their engagement can be an inspiration for future content and will let you know what does and doesn't work, which leads into my very last one. Failures and flops are your friend. Don't be afraid to have a failure. Trial and error is all part of the process, and it can be really exciting to see the learnings from a flop turn into your next viral success. So just remember, a failure or a flop is a good indication of a no-go, but it also means where you can go.
Yes, so I'm going to wrap it up with some more tips. We always have more tips. There's never an end to the tips, but these are tips that I use when I used to create a lot of videos myself that really helped me speed up my workflow. So the first one, yes, is to create these lower thirds or these titles, these on-screen animation that you can export as a transparent PNG or PNG with a transparent background. You will need a Canva Pro account to do this, but this has helped me a lot when I was creating my videos for my YouTube channel, for example, because once you have this file with a transparent background, you can just add that to any video and even animate this. So that really is a game changer for video producers. The next tip on the next slide, yes, is to use your thumbnail document and create a template based off that. So what you see here is the document, the Canva document I used to create the thumbnail for the Tip Talk series on our channel. And I have this template, which is blank, where I can just come in and duplicate this page and change the color, change my keyword, and drop an image in the frame. And I will have that ready for creating my next thumbnail. Also, if you work with a team, you can share that as a template by using the share button and then publish as a template. Then you have two links, a view link and a template link. Meaning if someone opens that design, transforms it, your original design won't be modified. So that is a great way to work with your team, for example, on thumbnail. Next is the fact that you can search for and discover a bunch of YouTube intros with Canva. We do have a template category called YouTube intros. So just type in YouTube intros and you will find a bunch of different sequences, video sequences that you can use to create your 5-10-second intro for YouTube. So here I like this one, which has a already set title and moving title, and then a fast-paced editing with a couple of shots. So this has been done obviously for someone who is into fitness, but you can really swap this content for whatever you are doing. And you will have this template with already preset animations for the titles, transitions, the frames are correctly laid out for you. So basically all you have to do is drop your content in there. So this is a great tip to go faster on YouTube. And finally, the last one is similarly, you can search for YouTube outros. So your end screens that you will see at the end of your YouTube videos. So if you search for YouTube outro, I think it works also with YouTube end screen, you will find these templates with placeholders that I mentioned before, where you can add from YouTube your next video for your viewers to watch in the frame, for example, but they will be animated. And so it creates this cool effect. You can keep talking. For example, you could drop your video of you talking, your talking head into this frame where the lady is here on screen and talk about the next video and give a reason for your viewers to click on that next video. So that's it. That's all the tips I had for you today.
Spectacular. Thank you so much. So please join me. We haven't quite got to the end, but thank you so much to our experts for joining us today and giving us so much video goodness. So thank you so much for joining us. We really, really love having you live in these sessions and asking such great questions. I've seen our team jump in and answer a lot of those questions on the run. So we will now wrap up and hope to see you at another Canva workshop very soon. Have a wonderful day.